Holiday, everybody, and welcome back, and happy holidays to you and yours once again. I'm Jason Salas, and I am joined by two proud members of the United States Coast Guard. It is always an honor, a duty, and a privilege when we get to interview members in uniform. So we welcome to the KUM couch Master Chief David Stone.
Yes.
Thank you, Master Chief, for your service to the nation and to our island.
You're welcome.
And
Thanks
we
for
have
having
Ensign
us.
Edward Onurang.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much. We have not done an interview on this very set about vessel safety and more specifically vessel inspections, and I want to say like at least a decade and everything like that. So we really want to get everybody up to speed because Guam, obviously we're an island, we're such a ocean-loving community. Let's prime everybody and everything. If you are the seafaring type, what should you know about inspections and how to make sure that you pass inspections?
One of the things that you want to know is the gear that you need to have on board for those inspections. You're required to have a life jacket for each person on board, some type of sound producing device, visual distress signals, your flares, make sure that they're in good working order and within the expiration date. And then you want to have a life ring. Other things that you want to have is fire extinguishers and some other safety stuff.
Now, not to compare you with, the other branch of service that, goes out in the water, but I know my friends in the Navy have said, it is probably the scariest thing in the world when you have to deal with a fire when you're out at sea.
Yes, it is, because there's nowhere to go but in the water. So you need to get that out as soon as possible. So you want to make sure all your fire extinguishers and any other firefighting devices you have on board are in good working order.
All right, thank you, Master Chief. Now, Ensign, it's interesting because that's half of the equation. You secure all of the equipment, you make sure you have all of it with you, and I mean, I know if you go on, I'm sure even Amazon, I've heard, they have everything's up to code, and they say this is properly inspected equipment. Everything's in working order. If you do get inspected, how can people make sure that they can actually pass the safety inspection, and typically what's checked?
So when conducting a vessel inspection, the one thing that we look for is to make sure that a lot of the items are Coast Guard approved. And for most part, fire extinguishers, life jackets, they would say if they're Coast Guard approved on it with a stamp.
Mm-hmm. And because you guys are basically like the first line of defense, you guys are the military, that's about the highest level of quality assurance you can get, right? Because some people might say, okay, well, is it okay if I'm just doing, recreational boating or, I'm just putt-putting around? But no, everything has to pass Coast Guard inspection.
Correct.
Up to code, okay. Let's be like a little bit more glasses half empty now. If someone should fail to pass the inspection, what happens to them and when can they get inspected again and make sure they pass?
So after we conduct our safety inspection, there's a criteria of items, whether it could be a warning or a violation, or even a termination of voyage. So like, let's say if you have 4 people underway, but you only have 3 life jackets, that could be cause for a termination of voyage until you get your 4th life jacket. But if you have like a fire extinguisher that's expired, but it's still in good working condition, it can just be a warning to where there's no violation. You just need to go make sure you get a new fire extinguisher for your next underway period.
All right, outstanding. So I did a live stream. We were on Facebook with our friends from GPD and like with their Marine division, and they were actually saying what they do sometimes is when they're out on the water, they basically do like a boat version of a traffic stop, like a pullover, for boaters that may be out there and they're like, hey, we just want to check, make sure everything's okay. You're in good working order, have a good time, be safe. But when you guys do your inspections, is it while boats are still docked, or can you guys actually like approach people when they're out on the water?
So while we're out in the water, we can go on any vessel to within the U.S. waters. There's a bunch of other criteria that has to be met before we can go on them. But essentially, we can go on to conduct a safety inspection just to make sure they have all their proper safety equipment.
Okay, now, Master Chief, because boating on Guam, again, is such a recreational activity, people tend to, get a little bit, let's say, in party mode when they're on the water. What exactly constitutes boating under the influence?
Boating under the influence is the same as driving under the influence on the road. The maximum limit is 0.08% for your BAC. So if you're beyond that, then you could be fined just like you would driving a car. You could be arrested, fined in court, and it could go against your record. As long as you are under that or you have somebody else that can drive the boat for you, then you're safe.
Okay. And just like our friends in law enforcement, are you able to properly conduct like a battery of tests to say, like for alcohol, different types of drugs? You know, I mean, marijuana is now in a lot of places, including Guam, like legalized right now. Are you guys able to actually test out in the field?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Because of our law enforcement authority as a federal law enforcement officers, we have that ability to be able to perform those type of battery of tests and prosecute if need be.
Okay. Typically, what are the penalties that one could incur, like if they're actually found to be under the influence?
That would be up to the courts. Basically, what we would do is report that to the Coast Guard hearing officers, and then they would assess the fines. Or if we do find people that are boating under the influence, we will work with GPD and turn it over to them.
All right.
And then let them prosecute from the land side.
And it's not like, you know, you guys hand it off and it's passing the buck. They're your partners. You guys work
Yes.
together very, very frequently.
Yes, very quickly.
Okay. So, Ensign, I'm looking at the notes right here, and one term kind of like jumped out at me. What is a float plan?
So float plan is essentially when you're going to get underway, it's creating a plan of where you're going, who's going with you, when do you plan on coming back, what kind of activity you plan on doing. Essentially just writing it, documenting everything down and giving it to someone. So just in case, like let's say if you're to return home at sunset and you're not back yet, someone has an idea of where you could be. Just in case we do have to go out and search.
Okay, and these are some of the many things that our friends in the Coast Guard want to let you know so that you can be safe while out on the water. And gentlemen, we thank you as well as your colleagues, not only for what you're doing to keep everybody safe, but also, once again, for your service. We thank you very much and wish you happy holidays to you and your families.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, and please stay tuned because there is more right after this.